Technology consulting can be a fun career, but there's also a dark side. That's what we're going to talk about here today. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world with their digital transformation and ERP implementation journeys. And the world of consulting is the only world I know. It's the only thing I've done in my career. It's a profession I love and enjoy, and it's certainly something we've built a whole company around. But I wanted to chat today with a newer consultant, someone that's earlier in their career, and find out their perspective of what works, what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, and really give a candid overview of the world of consulting. And joining me today is Jordy McDougall. Jordy, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you've been with the company for almost 2 years now. And first of all, why did you choose Third Stage? Why did you decide to come to our company?
Well, I chose Third Stage because compared to some other consulting companies, there's no exterior motives that Third Stage tries to follow. It's just looking to meet our clients' needs, and however that may be.
So that makes sense in terms of why you chose Third Stage, but how did you find Third Stage? How did you get the job here?
It's a bit of a funny story. So I was scrolling on, I want to say, Instagram or TikTok, and all of a sudden on my For You page was Third Stage Consulting. So I got down that rabbit hole, started to learn more and more about the company, and it really piqued my interest. Then my next thought was, how do I get a foot in the door to potentially become a member of the Third Stage team? So I started to follow you on LinkedIn, and with that I started to message you looking for an opportunity or some career advice on how to break into the consulting industry. You did not reply to the first message I sent, no, hey, that's fine. So stayed a little bit persistent and sent a couple more follow-up messages, and eventually we were able to hop on a call and kind of just went from there. So it was a fun path, and I'm glad that I sent that first message for sure.
We'll have to go back and look at that message because I can't remember what you said, but I just remember the tone and the style of how you reached out in a persistent but not annoying way. You know, like you were kind of in a very respectful way. You were following up, but you said something that was very effective. I wish I could remember what it was. You know, it always helps to have someone, someone that can help you out and help you get a foot in the door. But I thought you were very effective at selling yourself and creating my want to have a conversation and my want to help you out, even if it wasn't working for us. So I think that's maybe a good lesson or a takeaway for people that are just starting out or trying to get into the world of consulting, that you have to do a lot of legwork like you did to go do some research, reach out to people, be persistent, all that stuff. And I get a ton of emails, but rarely do people follow up. Usually I get one email and that's it, which is fine. That's why I don't respond to the first email. I see who's going to be persistent. The ones that are persistent, they get my attention. So that's a good lesson for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're going to get a lot of follow-up emails now once this gets posted.
Yeah, once they see this interview.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now, what did you study in college? And tell us a little bit about your athletic background too.
Yeah, so I started off in physical education. I was playing football and baseball in college and just kind of went into phys ed because I thought it was related to sports. Then throughout my college years, I started to get more interested in business and IT and things of that nature. So I started to apply for an MBA. And while I was taking my MBA, I also got a master's in sports management as well.
Okay. So you didn't go into college like with this grand plan of becoming a technology consultant. That wasn't your plan from the time you were 18 or whenever you got out of?
No, yeah, it was mainly all sports in my mind at that point in time. I really enjoyed playing sports and being on a team. And once I started to get kind of seeing the end of my sporting career and starting to look at what kind of a career I wanted to pursue the rest of my life, I tried to look for some synergies with that team aspect that I really enjoyed with sports.
Yeah. So in these 2 years, you've gotten into consulting. This is your first consulting job. What's been the most surprising part of being a consultant? What kind of caught you off guard, either in a good or bad way?
Well, before I was really introduced into the actual consulting world, I had this bit of an idea that it was potentially a little bit stale and buttoned up and without much room for creativity. And now that I've been in the consulting industry for 2 years, I've realized that I'm wrong and that there is lots of room for creativity and thinking outside of the box, and that's something that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Now, how about you were talking about your athletic career in college. How does that, do you find that any of those skills you learned in team sports have translated into consulting, or any lessons you have from playing in sports that have helped you in consulting?
Yeah, I would say first off, the whole communication and teamwork aspect is something that really correlated well. And then off of that, there was also the fast-paced environment and the heavy workload that athletes have to go through when they're student athletes. And I found that that really transitioned well into the consulting industry as well.
So you talked about the creativity and how you were wrong about creativity not being an opportunity. What else have you enjoyed the most about being in consulting?
I've really enjoyed getting to know all the different clients, whether that's coast to coast in the United States or even globally. You're really getting to know each and every client and getting to understand like their cultures, ideologies, as well as helping them solve their business problems that they're looking to solve.
Yeah. What do you like least about it?
That's a tough question. I don't know if there's necessarily something that I don't like about it, but I would say that being a younger consultant can be quite difficult at times. When you're working with a client or you're presenting some sort of a deliverable, sometimes you get looked at a little bit differently, and somebody that's 20 or 30 years into their career, they might not want to necessarily take your advice as easily as if you're more of a seasoned consultant. So that's been something that's been a little bit of a challenge, but also been very fulfilling.
Now, have you noticed that, like when you're dealing with clients, have you had situations where a client looks at you a little skeptically or maybe even says something like questioning your knowledge or your experience or anything like that because they can look at you and tell you're not 50 years old? So has that been an issue, or have you seen that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that one thing that I've realized over time is that first impressions are very important when you're a young consultant. So when you first go into your first meeting and you're meeting the client, you really want to give off a strong first impression and show off some confidence so that you're confident in your abilities and you've done it before.
Yeah. You just can't get rattled by the challenge or the fact that someone's looking at you a little skeptically. You have to understand, well, maybe you would too if you were them, so you just got to not panic or freak out about it. One thing I thought about when I was your age and I started in consulting around the same time as you did is I thought about getting that touch of gray, stuff that you put in your hair to make it gray. So then I thought, well, if I make my hair gray, maybe people think I'm older, but I never ended up doing it. Now I don't have to.
Well,
actually, I'm gray.
I don't know if red even goes gray, so maybe I would have to do a touch of white. But no, that's a good point. Maybe I'll have to try that one out.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd actually recommend it, but I did think about it seriously at that point in my career. But it turns out that if you can usually work your way through it, like you said.
Yeah, a couple long-term projects, and I think that might happen to me either way. So.
Exactly. You might get gray on your own. Yeah. So in these first couple of years, or even after we look back to your first year of consulting, maybe your first 6 months, what was the most challenging part of the role, and how did you overcome it?
I'd say one of the most challenging parts of consulting was being able to relay a complex idea to an audience that may range in background information. So being able to explain it to someone that maybe isn't as hands-on keyboards as the person right beside them, being able to ensure that the whole room fully understands what the message you're trying to communicate, and making sure that no one leaves the room confused or not aligned with the entire group.
Yeah. So if you're anything like me, I remember when I first started my career in consulting, it was just so much learning. It was almost overwhelming, just drinking from a fire hose, trying to learn the art and the profession of consulting, but also, like you said, learning about all these different companies that are out there. They have unique industries, unique operating models, and unique cultures and people and all this stuff. How did you handle that? Was that hard for you? Was it stressful? Like, how did you deal with the learning that's required to be successful at this?
It can definitely be stressful at times. Like you said, drinking out of a fire hose, that's very relatable. I would say that the first thing would be just trusting in what I know and the skills that I do have, especially when I first started out, just trusting in myself, and then also leveraging my coworkers and my mentors that I have. I mean, everyone's been great at spending time and explaining different concepts and how different businesses operate, and it's been a really valuable experience being able to work alongside such intelligent people.
Yeah, and there's all these acronyms and nomenclature. It seems like that you don't know at first. Like I remember my first manufacturing client, they would talk about MRP, and I didn't know what MRP was, and but I knew not to ask what does MRP mean because I knew it was just probably something I didn't know, but I should know. But I just remember all these little acronyms and words that were used. You didn't quite know what they were because they don't teach you all that stuff in school. So did you find that there's a lot you had to learn sort of on the job versus what you learned in school?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you're first starting out, there's lots of extra time away from the office that you need to put in to make sure that you're keeping up to speed and ensuring that you're adding value in any meeting or call that you're in. It does take a little while, but also it's worth it in the end. So you see it pay off almost instantly. So the time you put in yesterday, you can use that right away today.
Yeah. And then people stop questioning, do you know what you're talking about, or are you old enough or experienced enough to add value in the project? So that helps overcome that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Is there a particular project that you've worked on in these first couple of years that you're particularly proud of, that you enjoyed the most, or might be a good example for those that are considering a career in consulting?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, I'm in the middle of a implementation with a very large multinational company, and it's been a really good growing experience and being able to be exposed to how global companies operate and just how complex some of these implementations really can be. So really proud of the progress that we've made to date so far and really excited for the challenges that are to come for sure.
Yeah. So in addition to learning about implementation, multinational companies, what other sorts of professional growth or learnings have you experienced in these first couple of years?
The ability to communicate ideas, kind of like what I mentioned earlier, just being able to articulate the thought that you have in your head and making sure that everyone that's in the boardroom can understand the thoughts that are in your head, which sometimes, I mean, it's easier said than done for sure, being able to articulate correctly and ensuring that, everyone is aligned and understands. But I would say that's one major piece with growth. And then also just understanding what I'm capable of. I mean, I've really been pushing the limits these last couple of years, and it's been paying off, and it's really exciting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that might be a little different with a smaller company like ours, is that you do get pushed, I think, more than you might at a big company where there's hundreds of thousands of people and you can only do a certain amount of things. They don't want you to fail. They will do everything possible to make sure you don't fail, but in that process, you end up sort of in a box. It's harder to get pushed than I think you would here at a company like ours.
Yeah, I would say that the opportunities seem to be endless, and one thing that I really enjoy is that it seems like the ball is in my court. So whatever I want out of my career, I feel like it's up to me to go and chase that down and get it because of the opportunities that I do have.
Do you have any examples, or maybe one example of something you learned about digital transformation or ERP implementations in general that you just had absolutely no idea before you joined the company?
It's not a specific example, but I just never realized the importance of the people side of transformation, making sure that everyone is aligned and on the same page, everyone is understanding what the goals are that we're trying to achieve, and just overall change management in the people side of things has been something that I had an understanding of, but I never truly valued the importance of it.
Yeah, and when you look at all the things that go into people, process, technology, strategy, all these different components of transformation, and back to your earlier point about being able to simplify complex topics. I mean, these projects are really complicated, wouldn't you say? I mean, it's hard to get your own head around it, but then help clients get their heads around complexities.
Absolutely. I think that one thing that I try to think about before a meeting or a big deliverable readout is if I'm struggling to understand the topic, or if my coworkers are struggling to understand the topic, how is the business supposed to? Because this is what we do day in and day out, and this is our expertise area. So trying to get into the shoes of the client and try to understand what they're thinking and how it might make the most sense to them is something that seems to be very important.
Yeah. So with these couple of years of experience under your belt, if there's one thing you could change about the consulting industry in general and or our company in particular, what would it be?
I don't know if I'd necessarily change anything about the consulting industry, but I would like to remind every senior executive or senior consultant that it was once their first year, first day on the job as well, and that anytime that they can give back to a younger consultant and spread their knowledge, it's very valuable. I know that personally, every time that one of my senior mentors has taken the time to explain a complex topic, or just taken the time to ask if there's any questions that I may have, it's super valuable. And I think that that's something that the consulting industry could continue to do, is to offer advice and to kind of bring up the younger consultants to ensure that everybody is being successful.
So for those watching here that maybe are in university or just out of college, maybe they're earlier in their careers, what advice would you give to them to help them get started on a career path in consulting?
I would say to really try to find an area that you're interested in, and then from there be persistent and find your own opportunities. Nobody's going to go and track you down and say, hey, I want you to come join my consulting group, especially if you're not coming from a target school or anything of that nature. So you need to go out and find your own opportunities, and then be persistent, follow up, and keep upskilling while you're looking for a job or looking for a way to break into consulting. Keep trying to learn new things, work on your soft skills, everything that falls under the umbrella of consulting. I think that's a really great starting point.
What excites you most about the future of consulting and your role here at Third Stage?
What excites me most about the future of consulting is a little bit of the uncertainty around it, whether that's AI or different technology developments, and being able to adapt and follow along with the future of consulting is really exciting to me, and I'm excited to see how it's going to evolve the role. and how we can use that to make sure that our output is very successful.
Yeah. And what about the company? What excites you most about your role here at Third Stage?
What excites me most about my opportunities with Third Stage moving forward is that the ball is in my court, like I mentioned earlier, that whatever opportunities I want to chase down, I feel like I have them available to me, and it's up to me to go and follow up on those.
Well, it's great having you on the team, and it's been fun watching you go from a totally newbie to somewhat of a seasoned vet, even though it's only 2 years in. It's just been fun to watch you grow and learn and challenge yourself, and you've been a great addition to the team, and you've got great advice for people starting out. Hopefully everyone watching here got some good insights from that. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's great.
And if you'd like to learn more about Third Stage Consulting and career opportunities here, you can reach out to us at work@thirdstageconsulting.com. We've included the link right here on the screen, and you can also go to the links below. So hope you found this information useful, and I hope you have a great day. Yeah, so you've been with the company now for what, a little over a year? 2 years. Has it been 2 years?
Tomorrow.
Oh, wow, okay. Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
I have a gift for you. I totally, because I remembered this. It's fun to hear you do, but you just reminded me of a question I totally forgot, and I meant to put it on here. That was
So close, last question.
No,